Hi, I'm Jackie Seguin.
Frank Diakovo.
Ron Blundell.
I'm Graham Ford.
Rhonda Stevens.
David Pollock.
Gilbert Teitzel.
Edward Baltarolo.
Bev Days.
Tara McGrath. Desiree Turnbull.
Blake Tahir. I'm a Customer Relation Officer here at Community Bendigo Bank.
Over the last 20 years since this became a community bank and Dimbulah opened, we've grown substantially, not just with customer numbers, with the products we've sold, the footings obviously, which give the income so that we can give back to the community. But I think we've grown in maturity.
I've been here for the 17 years. I came in 2008, and the significant difference has been the customer base. So with that, the footings grew, staffing grew, and we've grown into the enterprise we are today, really. It's been remarkable.
So I'll just tell you a little bit about how it works, the model itself. So people that bank with us at the community bank branches like Mareeba and Dimbulah get to choose the same products as any other branch across Australia. However, what the bank then does is split some of that income and gives it and provides it to the board for their decisions on how it can be spent in the local community. 20 years is a big achievement. The $7 million obviously needs to be celebrated locally, but I think nationally the system's been going. The community bank project, what started off as one small community bank in Victoria, has become so big now that we've given, since 1998 when it first started, to have given back $416 million, I think we're up to as we speak today. Absolutely amazing. Who would have ever dreamt that in 1998, a farmer's dining room table saying we need banks to stay. And not only have we stayed in towns, but the model has stayed.
20 years ago, very different type of community. We operated as a Bendigo Bank retail site. Then it became aware that Dimbulah was losing their only branch of a bank that was out there. And Dimbulah people got together, wanted to work out how they could bring banking services back to Dimbulah. So they came to Bendigo Bank. Bendigo Bank had a model called the Community Bank Model, and it had only been going for around about 7 years at the time. So we reached out to Bendigo Bank, and then the whole process started.
Well, it's interesting. We saw this community bank model throughout the country, yet we had no community banks in our far north Queensland area. And we saw the power that had, particularly in Victoria. I think we just thought there was a great opportunity here, especially. We had a farm in Dimbulah at the time. I remember a conversation with Frank Diakovo just in the IGA or the SPA out in Dimbulah.
And we were just talking about bank, and I was sort of complaining about banks, and he just said, how about we start a bank up here? And I said, what sort of bank? A community bank.
And as it turned out, Mareeba branch was the second branch ever sold to a community bank group back in the day. So it really was a bit of innovation at the time. The first thing we did was we got all the best known people we could in town. So we got a steering committee together and we said, look, this is what I think we can do. And then we started engaging with Bendigo Bank's community bank team once we had a very solid group of people, incredible people. I mean, when you think about it, everyone was taking a bit of a leap of faith.
First of all, I was invited to join the steering committee. So then, Tom just invited me to come along to one of the meetings, and I've been there ever since.
I was on the steering committee, formed in 2004, and the idea was to create a bank for Dimbulah. That was what the principal goal was in those days.
All the banks closed up, so everything was sort of going, people weren't happy about it.
In Dimbulah in particular, that banking service was paramount to a little town like theirs surviving, really.
In the great tobacco growing years, the four major banks were there, but as soon as the tobacco industry folded, they left. And of course those poor people out there and west missed out.
The town was dying, and you've got to have a bank as a hub.
I think the process was to form the company that created the opportunity to buy the Dimbulah and the Mareeba Bank, and from there that allowed us to have funds available to put into the community.
The concept started the year before, but the forming of the company that runs the community bank branches was started in July, and we were registered in July. Then the process started where we had to issue a prospectus. We then had to get shareholders. We had to sell, I think, 1 million shares to make it work, and we sold them at $1. So then after those shares were sold, the process then became like more admin process with Bendigo Bank.
I'll start up at Dimbulah. We had to buy a building or lease a building, get a building, because there was no bank out there at that time. And then, of course, from that, well, it had to be furnished and set up for a banking enterprise. And then, of course, getting staff for out there, which we weren't involved with, but that was part of the doing. Here was a Bendigo bank, and we then decided to make it into a community bank. And may I say, from memory, certainly Mick and I had no idea as to what a community bank was really all about until it progressed and then went on from that.
I think the biggest challenge was actually getting the community together and to understand the concept. Community bank being a relatively new model, people in the local community, we had to explain to them the actual concept and what it actually meant to them. And really what it means is that as a community bank, the people that bank with you, 80% of the profits that's made by this branch and Dimbulah branch goes back to the community in way of grants and sponsorship. So once we got that story across to the community, it was a much easier process.
Challenge is definitely the moving landscape of banking and the interest rates. That put a fair dampener on what was happening across Australia particularly.
Yeah, well, my big concern was to get Dimbulah profitable, and it took about, well, I was on the board for the first 5 years, and at the whole of that 5 years it was getting Dimbulah profitable. Mareeba was profitable. It was good because we were one of the few people that actually, well, there was only 2 banks sold at the time, Logan and Mareeba, and it was profitable. And you really needed a book of about 50 million to become profitable, and we were a long way short of that.
The challenges were having our credibility in the market, but we quickly overcame that with the way we delivered service. Yourself as branch manager, myself as a business banker at the time. Back then the business bankers did agri and business, so we could look after the farmers, and we had a group of people who are experienced enough to get all that done. So the challenge was acceptance in the market, but the experience and dedication and hard work of all the staff really got us into such a great footing and position over time. And that's why, within a relatively short period of time, this has become one of the most successful community banks in the country.
The challenges, it was pretty hectic. People were very sceptical about it, how it was going to go, but somehow we managed to do it with a lot of good people, and we all got together and we rallied behind it, and we just made it, I suppose.
Well, we built the Heritage Centre, and I sort of saw what 4 people pulling together could do, and I knew it could be done. You get the right core of people, you can do anything. As I just said to my wife the other day, if everyone pulls together, you can even buy a bank.
That's exactly right. Being the branch manager, I had probably different hopes than what the board members would have had. My hope was that we would generate more business through our doors.
We're just hoping that we could get a bank going and it'd help the community. And we're hoping that it would help the town out and people would come and, support it and make the town grow, I suppose.
The community story is powerful because now the bank puts some money back into the community as Bendigo does. So, whether that's the netball courts that we got involved with here or a camp draft that we sponsor, the more dollars you pick up there, the more good stories and feedback come along. It just creates credibility.
I think the most thing that I'm proud of is the amount of money that has been distributed back to our community. We are now in excess of $8 million back to the community in the 20 years of our operation. So that's a huge boost to our community.
I think the money that has been given out to the community groups, certainly, but it's also provided convenience to a lot of the members of the community. Yeah. And having access to the local branch, being able to walk in and speak to the tellers, they know most of the members of the community. Having access to an ATM in Dimbulah is certainly convenient. I know it was for me. Yeah.
Well, I reckon that it's helped out tremendously because there's a bank here and we're in town. We don't have to travel elsewhere, and it's the same for everyone else. We all banked here, and that made it a lot easier.
Oh gosh, my most memorable moment.
So many. Some that I can't even probably talk about on this tape.
A person was going to apply. She'd like to apply for the job, and I wanted her for the job at the start. And, I can't because I've got mangoes, Christmas, and I've got kids, and I've got this. And I remember saying, you just put in your application with all your terms and conditions. And I think that staff member is still with us.
It's the fun of being part of the community. I know I keep repeating it, but it's such a silly phrase, but when we're the ones cooking the sausages, that's when you have your true conversations.
Would have been my first ever community bank conference at Mission Beach. I'd only been with the bank 3 or 4 months, and I got to take my wife and my brand new baby daughter, where the board welcomed me, and Sally Teitzel nursed Isabel and helped my wife care for my daughter while I was away at conference with the rest of the directors. So it is one big family that we have here.
I guess my years as chairman, I've been really grateful for that. It probably helps me grow a little bit as well. But I think certainly the achievements that have come out of the branches and what we've been able to put back into the community that's the big part.
I think the day we opened, we had that function in Dimbulah. I was really proud that day. We had everyone there, everyone who'd put in, there was probably about, I think from memory, 16 months worth of solid effort. So that was a very proud moment when we opened. And just a look on everyone's faces. Everyone had put their investors had put the money in, and they were standing in front of their new branch in Dimbulah. How cool was that? That was a very proud moment, I thought, back then for me.
I'd have to say the opening of the community bank model way back in 2005, the end of 2005, when I was their branch manager. I think that was certainly a day to remember.
I think for me, I would have to mention Dimbulah. So Dimbulah, when we first came on board, Dimbulah wasn't profitable on its own. So it had to the whole business itself, Mareeba Dimbulah Community Bank, is one entity, but Dimbulah had to run off the back of Mareeba. And that moment when Dimbulah was profitable and could run on its own, stand on its own 2 feet, was significant. The other thing that I really do remember and really pushed everything as far as the growth in our business overall was the rural side of it. When we could actually go and talk to farmers. Prior to that, we were making things fit, and we didn't have the right products. And once we could offer the products that they needed, the sky was the limit.
In all honesty, my fondest memory is helping people grow, and I know that can sound hollow, but I love it when I see people get promotions, when I see them become managers from a teller, when I see lenders created from within rather than just having to recruit externally. That's my biggest passion. That's when I get a big buzz.
It was really good, and I think it was one of the things I've enjoyed most about the bank is to train the kids. When they leave school, they could get a job at the community bank before they moved to the big world of Cairns and this type of thing, because it became a problem for the bank. We were training all these kids and then they'd move on after 12 months. But really, in the big picture, that's really it's great that we have and you just have to look now, the number of staff we have.
When we first started, I think there was 5 staff in Mareeba and 3 at Dimbulah. Today we have over 13 staff working in Mareeba Dimbulah Community Bank branches. So that's another 5 wages that we've invested back into also the town. Training and upskilling people in finance industries. Having long-term staff that people know they can come in and ask for is what we're known for. Even in our region, we've probably got the longest standing staff across the region.
It's thrilling to see them be able to do what you know you have been able to teach them, and the thrill that they get when they service a great customer and the customer has some really significant events. The person who comes in and has a dream about, I don't know, a new business that they might want to create, and then as years go by you can see that business thriving, and the staff get to see that as well. It's so good.
What does it mean for you to be part of this team?
It means everything. I get a great feeling coming to work every day and knowing that I'm helping the community and with my team.
I feel like I have a sense of connection with the community. I grew up here, my family has been here for a very long time, so since I've started working here, I feel a strong sense of connection, not only with the community, but with my colleagues and the town, yeah.
For me, it's just feeling like you're part of that bigger family. You know, Bendigo Bank, in particular our branches, we all get along really well. We work well with our community and just feeling part of something special.
Everyone's friendly, everyone's kind, so it was really good. It was very welcoming. So, and coming from another company where I was at for 5 years and obviously felt like part of the furniture, to come into a new space and feel so welcome was very nice. It was very good.
We're always a great team working together, and I think that's the most important thing. And a lot of the jobs out there, you don't get that. And I think being part of a great team and being part of a community, what more can you ask for? The bank's changed in a lot of different ways, where before everyone used to actually just come into the branch. But now with the new generation, they're all online, so everything's changed to digital.
Definitely technology, so it's always changing, evolving, so you can do technology now at home 24/7.
Going from that, you know, passbook into more of a digital, like that to me is definitely changed. You know, people do trust us to guide them on that journey, so I feel as though people do adapt to change, and as long as we're there to communicate and guide them through.
I find it really humorous when we go to the city and they say that, oh, you know, rural communities don't know how to use computers or anything like that. And I always think to myself, they're probably the most innovative, really. They know how to do everything because they've had to. The distance has made them like that. So I don't think that that's a challenge for us. I think that they embrace it and they like it. But at the end of the day, when they want to build a business, they still want to speak to people.
Probably the biggest change is the renovations that we've just recently had in both branches for Mareeba and Dimbulah. We've had a great new refit and everything like that, but what stayed the same is we might have got a new look, but our commitment to the customers has still stayed the same.
Having that, the person, the connection, someone that they can rely on, someone they can trust, someone they can talk to. There's always someone that they can come in and have a chat to if they've got any concerns or questions. But banking in general, I think we're just evolving. It's, you know, that our core values have definitely stayed the same.
Well, the milestones that stand out for me is, one is the renovations.
The branch is absolutely beautiful. It's definitely freshened up the workplace. It's really, really nice. We've gotten a bunch of new technology as well, which has definitely helped do our jobs more effectively.
I think made the community think we're going to stay, which was a big issue for a lot of people, thinking that banks were just going to disappear and go cashless. So it was really nice from then to now how much more we do have coming through the door, thinking that we are going to stay because we've spent money here.
My vision, it'd be quite interesting to see what the next 20 years is going to be. I think it'll be a lot different to what we're doing now, but I think it'll be an interesting journey.
Gee, I think the sky's the limit.
I guess just continue what we're doing. I don't feel like we need to change too much because our core values are very important and the customers can see that we do care about our community. The vision would be to just keep working with the community, keep putting back into the community and keep growing our products and customers.
Next 20 years for these businesses to continue to grow and for the people that we're employing today to be the future leaders of this business. And that's where I get my biggest buzz from, is seeing the young ones come and get a job and in 20 years have a fantastic career. And that's how I started in banking thinking I was going to be a teller part-time, and 20 years later I'm still in the industry and still love it, and still passionate about helping people help customers.
Well, I guess you can go back to Bendigo and say, well, look, you know, they took the punt and decided to involve their little communities in getting involved in banking. That's just a great boon for all small communities for a starter. Once they made that commitment, I don't think they looked back. And for us, it's just been absolutely fantastic. Some of the figures that we've produced in the last 20 years, I think there's like $8 million gone back into the community.
I think I'd like to see a continuation of the community bank involvement in our communities, and that involves the public supporting our banks. And I think with that we'll continue to do a lot of good for our communities, whether it's sporting or whatever functions they may be, and grants and sponsorship.
Regardless of who's here and who isn't here in that time, I think that model will stand the test of time. It's exciting, it's great to see where it's come from, it's great to see the success, and it's great to think forward about what it can become in the future. Bendigo, as I said, that supplied the model, but all the customers, all the committee, all the shareholders have actually made this thing work here. You know, if you think about legacy, it's certainly in such a strong position.
What legacy? I think it's just the fundraising. It's for the community, and it's proving that you can, where everyone else is putting off staff, you go to a counter here, there'll be 3 smiling people there. And I think this is a big thing. It's giving stability for our town.
I think the legacy is what we've done for the community.
Our legacy of giving back to our community.
But not only that, giving back to the community, it's also that it's made it a lot easier for people, for lives to come in here and bank at this community. And I'm so proud of it. This small town, it's brilliant.
The amount of good we've done, especially for younger people, I think if we continue to doing that, I think that's all one can ask of what the model of a community bank was set up to be.
I love working with the board, the directors. All of you are incredibly passionate about what you do, and you're so giving of your time to this model, to this business, but ultimately to your community. And I think your commitment to these towns, particularly out at Dimbulah, keeping the bank there, keeping a service to the customers and to the farmers, which is desperately needed to keep that town alive, to the contributions that you've given both to Mareeba and Dimbulah, you should really be very proud.